The reason you forget 80% of what you learn within days isn't poor memory, it's flawed timing. Stop cramming. We'll show you the single scientific technique that hacks your brain's forgetting curve and makes learning stick forever.
All right, let's really dig into that. Because that line isn't just a hook, it's a diagnosis for why so much of our hard work learning new things just evaporates. For years, we've all kind of bought into this idea that forgetting is a personal flaw, a sign of a bad memory. But the science tells a completely different story. The problem isn't your brain's hardware. That thing is a powerhouse. The problem is the software, the method you're running on it. So let's be clear, your brain isn't failing you, your strategy is.
And that 80%, look, that's not some made-up number to grab your attention. It's a real, documented scientific phenomenon called the forgetting curve. Think of it like an invisible gravity that's constantly pulling new knowledge right out of your mind. It happens to everyone. Whether you're a student trying to lock in formulas or a professional trying to remember key client details. But here's the really cool part. Because this curve is predictable, it is absolutely beatable.
And this is how we beat it. It's a technique called spaced repetition. Now, the core idea here is a bit of a paradox. And honestly, it's kind of weird. The secret to remembering something forever is to deliberately wait to review it at the exact moment you are on the verge of forgetting it. I know, it sounds totally backward, right? Why wouldn't you just review it over and over when it's fresh? But that's the genius of it. That little bit of struggle to retrieve a fading memory, that's like a giant neon sign for your brain that says, hey, this stuff matters. Keep it. You're turning forgetting from your worst enemy into your greatest ally.
So, here's our game plan for this masterclass. We're going to start with the forgetting paradox. Then we'll dismantle the illusion of cramming. After that, we'll build the core memory framework, dig into the science of sticking, and then I'll give you your 3-step protocol to put it all into practice. Finally, we'll map out the path to mastery. Let's jump in.
Okay, first things first. We need to completely reframe the biggest roadblock in all of learning. We've always been told that forgetting is a failure, right? Like it's some kind of bug in our mental operating system. But what if it's not? What if forgetting is actually a feature, a necessary step to building rock-solid, lasting memories? In this section, we're going to turn that bug into our secret weapon.
So let's meet the villain of our story, memory decay. The second you learn something new, a client's name, a key statistic, anything, a countdown clock starts ticking. And as you can see from the forgetting curve, this isn't some slow, gentle fade. It's a cliff. The decline is brutally steep right at the beginning. You lose the vast majority of new information within the first 24 to 48 hours. But this isn't your fault. It's a survival mechanism. Your brain has to ditch what seems unimportant, otherwise it would be totally overwhelmed. And the key word there is seems. Spaced repetition is how we actively signal to our brain what it's absolutely essential to keep.
So, if the forgetting curve is the enemy, what's our usual battle plan? It's what we all did in school before a big exam, mass practice, or as we all know it, cramming. But let me be crystal clear. The science shows that cramming is the most inefficient, high-effort, low-reward learning strategy ever invented. Let's break down why it fools us so effectively. This chart right here just nails the great deception of cramming. In the short term, cramming feels incredibly effective. You spend hours hammering information into your head, and by the end you have this powerful illusion of mastery. The knowledge feels fluid and easy. Spaced repetition, on the other hand, feels effortful. That act of pulling something back from the edge of your memory is a real mental workout. But now, look at the long-term reality. That easy feeling from cramming shatters within days. It's a total waste of time. That struggle from spaced repetition, though, that's what forges permanent retention. The key takeaway is this: if learning feels easy, you're probably doing it wrong. The struggle is the signal that real learning is happening.
And this is what that wasted effort looks like in cold, hard data. Picture it. You pull an all-nighter for a big presentation. Right after, you feel like a genius. Your recall is near perfect, maybe 95%. But just 2 days later, bam, the forgetting curve hits you like a ton of bricks. Your attention has plummeted to 20%. That is a 75% loss. You didn't just forget the material, you basically vaporized all the time and effort you put in.
Okay, so we've identified the enemy, the forgetting curve, and we've debunked the flawed strategy of cramming. Now it's time to build the solution. And listen, spaced repetition isn't just a clever tip. It's a systematic, algorithmic framework for encoding knowledge with maximum efficiency. Let's look at how it's built.
This whole system rests on 3 pillars, and they are absolutely non-negotiable. First, active recall. This is the foundation. You never ever just passively reread your notes again. Every review has to be an active of effortful retrieval, forcing your brain to pull the information out of memory without any cues.
Second, increasing intervals. This is the smart timing algorithm. When you recall something correctly, you deliberately push the next review further into the future. Get it wrong, and the interval shrinks. This adaptive schedule is the heart of the system. And third, item segmentation. You have to break down complex topics into their smallest possible pieces, atomic units. Your brain can't recall a whole chapter at once, but it can perfectly retrieve a single well-defined fact.
And this is how that algorithm plays out in the real world. On day 1, you learn a new concept. You test yourself. You get it right? Great. You don't look at it again tomorrow. You wait 3 days, until day 4. If you get it right again, you've earned an even longer break. The next review isn't for another week on day 11. Success there pushes the next review out to day 30 and on and on. The system dynamically adapts to how strong your memory is for each individual item, making sure every review happens at the point of maximum biological impact.
So we have the framework. But why does this specific combination of active recall and increasing intervals work so phenomenally well? Well, it's not magic, it's neurology. Let's go a little deeper and look at the cognitive science that makes this system the ultimate memory hack.
There are 3 key things going on in your brain. First, effortful processing. That struggle to retrieve a fading memory is like lifting a heavy weight for your brain. It signals that this information is critical, and it physically strengthens the neural pathways for that memory. Second, it boosts metacognition, which is just a fancy way of saying you get really good at knowing what you know and what you don't. The system forces you to confront your knowledge gaps. And third, contextual variation. By reviewing information on different days, in different moods, in different places, you're building a rich web of mental hooks for that memory, making it far more durable.
And this is the real power of that boosted metacognition. Most of us study by just reviewing 100% of the material over and over, but a huge piece of that is stuff we already know perfectly. Spaced repetition automates the review of that 80% you've already mastered. This frees up your limited time and mental energy to laser focus exclusively on the 20% of material that's actually giving you trouble. It is the ultimate application of the 80-20 rule to learning.
So, we've covered the why and the what. Now for the most crucial part, the how. This isn't just theory. This is an actionable protocol you can start using the moment this explainer ends. Let's move from theory to practice.
Here's your prescription. Step 1, the Atomic Segmentation Rule. Take whatever you're trying to learn and break it down into the smallest possible units. 1 question on the front, 1 answer on the back. Be ruthless. Step 2, the Increasing Interval Drill. Commit to the expanding schedule. The easiest way to do this with software like Anki, which automates the algorithm for you. The tool doesn't matter as much as your adherence to the system. And step 3, the consistent review time block. This is the linchpin. Schedule a mandatory 20-minute block in your calendar every single day for your reviews. This daily ritual is the non-negotiable key that makes the whole system work.
Now this is the most common and critical question people have. You're on day 30 of your review schedule for a concept. You flip the card over and nothing. It's gone. You draw a complete blank. Does this mean the system has failed? On the contrary, it means the system is working perfectly. The rule is simple and absolute. The interval for that specific item resets to day 1. You'll see it again in your very next session. Now this might feel like a punishment, but it's not. It's the system's adaptive, self-correcting mechanism. It has automatically identified a weak point in your knowledge and is now reprioritizing it for you without you having to think about it. Forgetting is not a failure. It's just data.
Let's bring this all together. Spaced repetition is far more than just a study hack. When you implement it consistently, it becomes a new philosophy of learning. It transforms your relationship with knowledge from something you desperately try to cling to into something you systematically and permanently engineer into your mind.
And this is the single distilled lesson of the entire system. Stop blaming your intelligence or your bad memory. Effective, long-term learning is not an innate talent you're born with. It's an engineered process. It's about applying the right amount of retrieval effort at precisely the right time. It is a system you can and will master.
So let's bring it all home. We started with the universal problems of memory decay and the wasted effort of cramming. Spaced repetition solves this. And why this matters is that it gives you a systematic way to hack your brain's own forgetting curve to achieve near-perfect long-term retention. We saw how the framework, built on active retrieval and increasing intervals, connects directly to the science of memory, physically strengthening neural pathways and optimizing your focus. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Choose your first topic, break it down into atomic units today, and schedule your first 20-minute review block for tomorrow. Because true productivity isn't about doing more. It's about mastering systems that make focus effortless.